Hello YouTube. Welcome to my NFL Week 17 predictions after my 12-4 record for Week 16. Remember to like and subscribe for more sports content, and without further ado, let's get into it. The Tennessee Titans are hosting the Cowboys this week on Thursday Night Football, hoping to regain their division lead. The Titans lost to the Texans 19-14, allowing the Jaguars to be atop the AFC South. The Dallas Cowboys beat the Gardner Minshew-led Eagles and are now winners of 5 out of their last 6 games. The Cowboys held Philadelphia's Miles Sanders to 3.1 yards per carry and will require that level of performance to keep up with Derrick Henry, who has rushed for 100-plus yards for 3 consecutive games. I believe the Cowboys will prevail over the struggling Titans by a score of 27-17. The Arizona Cardinals head to Atlanta to face off against the Falcons on Sunday. Both teams have been eliminated from the playoffs this year, and both teams will look to the ground game. Tyler Algier of the Falcons is an Offensive Rookie of the Year candidate who has rushed for 4.1 yards per carry for 6 of his last 7 games. Arizona's James Conner has rushed for 5.3 yards per carry last week and has 703 yards on the season. Arizona has given up 4.7 yards per carry to running backs in 2022, compared to Atlanta's 4.5 yards. The Falcons will win this game, with Tyler Algier rushing well and leading Atlanta to a 24-17 victory over the Cardinals. The Chicago Bears are on the road on New Year's Day to challenge the Detroit Lions, who lost their hot streak to the Carolina Panthers last week. The Chicago Bears have lost 8 games in a row and have been eliminated from playoff contention. David Montgomery of the Bears has run for 4.3 yards per carry in 3 of his last 4 games and will continue to get the ball against the Lions, as the Lions allowed 2 different running backs to rack up 100-plus yards in last week's loss. Despite Detroit's defeat, Jared Goff still threw for 3 touchdowns with no interceptions, along with 355 yards through the air. Although the Lions will struggle to contain David Montgomery, along with Justin Fields, I think the Lions will win this high-scoring game. The Houston Texans are at home this week to face the AFC South division leaders, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have won 4 of their last 5 games. The Jaguars' defense led them to a win last week, holding the Jets to 3 points. Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence had a 100-plus rating in 5 of his last 7 games, and tight end Evan Ingram had 113 yards last week. The Texans' offense played just well enough to beat the Titans on Saturday, with their defense screening 2 interceptions without any touchdowns through the air. The Texans will keep it relatively close, but the Jacksonville Jaguars will get the 23-16 victory. The Denver Broncos begin their 2023 with a game in Kansas City to face the 12-3 Chiefs, hoping for home field advantage. In their last meeting, Russell Wilson put up a 100.1 rating before his injury. However, in his last game, he threw 3 interceptions, 1 touchdown, and has got his head coach fired. Patrick Mahomes put up 3 total touchdowns last week, with a strong defensive effort to hold the Seahawks to 10 points. Travis Kelce is also coming off a great game, with 113 yards on 6 receptions. The Chiefs will win this game 31-17. The Dolphins are heading to New England with the goal of keeping their last wildcard spot. The Miami Dolphins have lost 4 games in a row, including a 26-20 loss to the Packers at home last week. Dolphins' Tua Tagovailoa has once again been placed on concussion protocol, meaning Teddy Bridgewater is expected to start. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are both coming off 100-plus yard games against the Packers, but will have to face a Patriots defense that got 2 interceptions last week. Mac Jones has come off one of his best games, posting a 105.6 rating with 2 touchdowns. I believe the Patriots will win, simply due to a missing Tua Tagovailoa. The Indianapolis Colts play in New York on New Year's Day to face the Giants. The New York Giants lost to the Vikings last week, but Daniel Jones had a good game with a 92.8 rating and 334 passing yards. Giants running back Saquon Barkley has also performed well, having rushed for 80-plus yards in 2 straight games. The Colts' run defense has only allowed 4.1 yards per carry, but may struggle to contain the pass, as they have allowed a 68.1 completion percentage this season. Quarterback Nick Foles did not play so well for the Colts, throwing 3 interceptions and putting up only 3 points in their loss. I think the Giants will win this game 20-13 and will keep their position in the wild card race. The Philadelphia Eagles are hosting the New Orleans Saints this week, wanting to lock up home field advantage in the playoffs. The Eagles have one of the best offenses in the NFL this season, scoring 29.7 points per game. Jalen Hurts may return from injury, but even without Hurts, their offense still dominates. Despite their loss, backup Gardner Minshew threw for 355 yards against the Cowboys last week. The 6-9 Saints are still in playoff contention and are 5-1 in games where they rushed for over 130 yards. The Eagles' defense performed well last week against the rush, only allowing 3.7 yards per carry. The Eagles will prevail, in my opinion, with or without Jalen Hurts, by a score of 30-23. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are facing the Carolina Panthers on Sunday and can clinch a playoff spot with a win. In Week 7, the Panthers defeated the Bucs 21-3 with a third-string quarterback as well as without Christian McCaffrey. Sam Darnold is 3-1 as a starter with a 121.4 rating last week. Carolina's rushing game excelled last week as 2 different running backs rushed for over 100 yards. Tom Brady threw 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions on Sunday during their overtime victory over the Cardinals and had a rating of 71.6. The Panthers' offense is playing well and they will beat the Buccaneers 20-17. The Cleveland Browns are on the road on January 1st of the new year to challenge the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are on a 3-game winless streak but still have playoff hopes, unlike their opponent. The Commanders must play good defense in order to win, as they are 0-4 in games where their defense allows 24-plus points. Carson Wentz will start for the Commanders, after Taylor Heineke was benched against the 49ers. Nick Chubb is the Browns' best offensive player and has rushed for 4.9 yards per carry this year. Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson threw for 135 yards with no touchdowns and 1 interception against the Saints and has more interceptions than touchdowns during his games this year. I believe the Commanders will win 24-20. The 49ers are traveling to Las Vegas for New Year's, riding an 8-game win streak. The Raiders, on the other hand, have blown 4 10-plus point halftime leads and are 6-9 on the season. The Raiders have also benched Derek Carr for his backup after their loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and will likely rely on rushing yard leader Josh Jacobs this Sunday. However, Josh may struggle because San Francisco is holding running backs to 3.3 yards per carry. Also, Nick Bosa of the Niners is leading the league in sacks and will likely win Defensive Player of the Year. 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy is still undefeated as well, and threw 2 touchdowns last week along with 234 yards. Brock Purdy and San Francisco's defense will defeat the Raiders 30-16. The New York Jets are flying to Seattle to begin 2023 to challenge the Seahawks, where both teams are hoping to get back on track to the playoffs with a win. The Jets' defense has only allowed over 23 points once since Week 4, and Geno Smith and the Seahawks offense will need to overcome Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, Quinnen Williams, and company. Zach Wilson only scored 3 points for the Jets last week, but New York's QB Mike White has been cleared to play, and wide receiver Garrett Wilson will likely have a huge game for the Jets. The Seahawks passing game has struggled, and against the Chiefs, Geno Smith threw for 1 touchdown and 1 interception, throwing for just over 200 yards. I think Mike White will lead the Jets to a narrow win, 24-23. The Minnesota Vikings challenged the Green Bay Packers on the road after yet another close win. The Green Bay defense has held the last 3 teams to under 21 points and got 3 interceptions against the Dolphins. However, the defense did allow 2 receivers to rack up over 100 receiving yards in their victory against Miami. Justin Jefferson of the Vikings is leading the league in yards, is on a 3-game 120-plus receiving yard streak. Minnesota's T.J. Hawkinson had 100-plus receiving yards last week as well and caught 2 touchdowns. The Packers are facing a low-level Vikings defense that allowed Daniel Jones to put up 334 yards. Aaron Rodgers has been playing just well enough to keep the Packers in the playoff race, posting a 91.3 rating on the season. This game will be close, like all Vikings games, but the subpar Vikings defense will allow the Packers to win 30-27. The Los Angeles Rams challenge the Los Angeles Chargers on New Year's Day. The Chargers have clinched a playoff berth, but Justin Herbert hasn't thrown for a touchdown in his last 2 games and has thrown 3 interceptions. Wide receivers Mike Williams and Keenan Allen combined for 180 yards last week on 15 receptions during their win against the Colts. The Chargers defense also excelled last week, intercepting Nick Foles 3 times and holding the Colts to 0 for 10 on 3rd down. The Los Angeles Rams are coming off a blowout win while putting up 51 points on the Broncos. Baker Mayfield is coming off a 2-touchdown game, along with Cam Akers having a 3-touchdown game. Although the Rams have been playing exceptionally well with Baker Mayfield leading the team, I believe the Chargers will win in the end, 27-24. The Baltimore Ravens host the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday, who have returned to the playoff picture in recent weeks. The Steelers have won 4 of their last 5, while the Ravens have won 7 of their last 9 games. Both defenses are holding their opponents to few points per game because the Steelers have allowed under 18 for 5 straight games, while the Ravens have allowed under 15 for 6 of their last 7. Lamar Jackson once again is questionable to return, but the run game will be a major focus for the Steelers defense, as the Ravens rushed for 184 yards last week for 5.4 yards per carry. In their last meeting, when Baltimore beat Pittsburgh, the Ravens rushed for 200-plus yards against the Steelers defense. The Steelers offense played just well enough to beat the Raiders, with Kenny Pickett posting an 81.6 rating. With or without Lamar, I think the Ravens will win at home in a defensive battle by a score of 19-16. On Monday Night Football, the Bills head to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals in what will likely be the game of the week. Both offenses are top 5 in points per game and are built primarily around the passing game. Joe Burrow and Josh Allen are both top 5 in passing yards, touchdowns, and top 10 in rating. Bills' Stephon Diggs and Bengals' Jamar Chase are top 5 in receiving yards per game this season. Both pass defenses are top 10 in rating allowed and touchdown passes allowed. The Bills are on a 6-game win streak compared to the Bengals' 7-game win streak. The Bills' rushing game performed very well last week, rushing for 254 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 8.2 yards per carry. Bengals running back Joe Mixon also played well, rushing for 4.1 yards per carry. This game will be very high scoring, but I think the Bengals will edge out the Bills by a score of 31-28 simply due to home field advantage. Thank you for watching to the end of my Week 17 NFL predictions. Comment your predictions in the comments below.